With me now, I have Professor Anthony Kila, Professor of Strategy and Development and Institute Director at the Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies, CIAPS, and Professor David Aworawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me this week.
Good to be here.
Well, we have our two guests, and we've looked at almost every major topic in town. We had Dr. Boniface Chizia talking about the minimum wage and the agreement for 70,000. President Tinubu trying to get through 6.2 trillion supplementary budget, taking the budget for 2024 above 33 trillion to address issues of renewed hope, agenda, and also infrastructure. He talked about the food plan of the Tinubu administration, the 44,400 trucks, bags of rice being sent to 36 states and the FCT. He talked about the Dangote refinery and so on and so forth, and the issues in the downstream sector, about how the head of the midstream and downstream petroleum regulatory authority says that the Dangote refinery that we've all been talking about is not even licensed, and it produces bad fuel in any case. And, the Dangote boss, Aliko Dangote, has also responded. And then we had Dr. Victor Kai talking about Rwanda, and President Paul Kagame winning an election, beating his own record, winning an election with 99.8%. Almost everybody who turned out, 98%, voted for him. And they say he's making Rwanda a better place. So he deserves to be president till 2034, by when he will be 76 years old. So that's the situation we have in Africa. And we talked about the UAE lifting the ban on Nigerian tourists like Professor Kila, who like to go and enjoy themselves, spend Forex in another man's country instead of going to Ubudukatu Ranch or to Ikogosi or even to Ekpe here in Lagos State to have fun. Professor Kila, what do you think of these issues?
Let me start by saying that at least I don't buy bow ties. Whatever.
Do you know whether this bow tie is made in Nigeria?
I will. Whatever I do. Well, let us start from where you stopped, from the EU thing. There's something embarrassing about the fact that we go celebrating the visa ban to another country. I think it should be a private moment, not a collective, let alone a national moment, to say we're happy to say they've lifted our visas. There's something about it that shows us as needy and without pride. And those things do matter. Where people who think that if the banners will ban them, it's the same. It's not the same. In practice, where we are today, we cannot treat ourselves or our visas as important as too many countries in the world. But what we can do, is to have, on one side, a sense of pride, and on the other side, a sense of vision to create alternatives. And I think individuals too should think that way, to think, let these people, I'm going to boycott them. I have boycotted some countries, but, I don't know if you felt my boycotting them or not, but I think individuals, you have that sense, and the nation should also have that sense. And that sense of pride should also lead to something constructive, to do what you are alluding to, Dr. Abati, about creating alternative for tourism. But let us be clear about one thing. When we talk about tourism in Nigeria, there seems to be an idea of thinking of just natural tourism, just parks and zoos and things like that. In reality, a huge part of people who go to Dubai, they go for health reasons, they go for shopping and boutiques, they go to explore things, and some even go for business. I think the idea of generating money from migration, which is a new word for tourism, should be that we need to learn to go towards something beyond the natural thing. When I hear people say, Ikongosi or other places or the zoos. It's a good thing, but you see, that is just one part. It's not enough. The other thing we need to but to that extent, we need to create modern things. We can't be the place of zoo for the rest of our life. But we also need to realize that the tourism is an ecosystem. It has to do with security, efficiency. It has to do with tidiness. It has to do with good service, customer service. It has to do with a lot of things. You can't just limit it on one. So, and I think it's a big, it could be a fundamental part of the economy when you think about countries like Italy, Spain, and some other countries beyond the UAE who have, gained a lot from tourism. Saudi Arabia as well, they have a monopoly of Islam. And perhaps Israel, those ones have their own monopoly. We'll create something. I'm very happy, if we want to create something about something in Ife or somewhere else about, tradition and culture. We have to think that way. And when we start thinking that way, fashion, art, religion, culture, innovation, tourism becomes something big that can do a lot. We have to, including health, we have to think that way. We shouldn't forget that in this same country, about 30, 40 years ago, maybe 50 years ago, people came from outside Nigeria to use our health system. We need to think along that way, in terms of the tourism. For the economy, you talked about the 70,000 new minimum wage. And what can one say? In my view, we have treated an economic problem with a political solution. One can see why, given the way the economy is going in the country, given the way, people are hungry, prices are high. One can see why the president cannot just walk away from it. He has to do something. And that is politics. And, the Labour asking for so much. They've given them, somewhere which is the highest they've ever received, not as much as they wanted. But how much is it in the market? Not a lot. That's the problem we have. I think if I were anywhere in that room of the economy management or the presidency, what I would have advocated for since a very long time until now is to move towards defending the purchasing power of the naira rather than throwing money at people. You do that by, one, you consciously intervene on the supply side of things. You create more products and services with the hope that the price will go down. The other thing you might be able to do very quickly is perhaps to reduce the cost of production of goods and services. That will include energy, transportation, and every other things. And here, I use the word people are considering demo day now, are out of fashion, subsidize. I still argue that we can subsidize the cost of productive items, including energy and transportation, so that we reduce the price. There should be a general sense towards reducing the price of goods and services, not throwing money at it. So, in terms of economy, I disagree with the way this has been managed because we've just thrown money at it and not much is there. I was making a list. The other thing I think could have been done differently is perhaps number 4, to freeze and reduce tariffs on production. That will include tax, that will include all different kind of tariffs. The government will know where we are now. What we want is more goods and services in the market at less prices, so you reduce the cost of production. And I think also that, I see on TV, we're seeing fruits and vegetables, food there. When the president had the courage, or is it the inspiration to suspend fuel subsidy, if the courage that mounted on him had been a courage to say, let us have an agric revolution in this country, let us push all our resources into agric, a lot of things that were growing last year would have grown by now. I say this not to chastise, but to show that that is a path to follow, and it's not too late. If we decide that all of a sudden now, we want to double or even more than that, everything we produce in terms of agriculture, it will go a long way in terms of reducing the cost of food, which is a crucial thing, in terms of creating jobs and affecting the economy. Of course, viewers will be thinking the first thing you need to do is economy to do that, security to do that. But they go together. So this, instead of throwing money at the problem, this 70,000 thing, it is the highest Nigerians have ever received in terms of naira. But when you compare it in terms of the real amount of the money, what can they do with it? Therein lies the problem. So morally, politically, we've intervened, but in terms of economy, I do not think we've done much. Then you went to Kigali, to Rwanda, to Paul Kagame's election. Paul Kagame is a paradox, you know, for everybody, and it's a very important lesson, because when people just assume democracy means good governance, dictatorship perhaps means bad, it shows you that it's more complex than that. By all accounts, especially compared to other African countries, Paul Kagame is a good leader, because as an administrator, you listed very well: improved standard of living, facilities for pregnant women, education is good, the roads are clean, the bureaucracy is efficient in Rwanda. But the problem is freedom is stifled. The press is stifled, the opposition is stifled, and it tells you it's not a democratic system. So we need to look at ourselves and say what we want and at what price. I think it is dangerous that in anywhere more than 10 people, one person assumes only he or her can do the job. It's a bad situation to be in. I do not buy that. We need to build institutions, and people also need to have a sense of some kind of decency to say that it cannot be always me or only me. We need to find a moral way to teach ourselves that. I'll stop here unless there's something you...
Well, inflation,
yes,
and the fact that, we're going to get about 44,400 bags of rice in Lagos. So what is the guarantee that it will get to us? And not only to APC members.
Well, I am an APC member for this rice.
Okay.
For this rice issue. For this rice issue.
You will get your own bag.
For this rice issue, I will declare myself APC member. if that is the way to get it. No, I think it's silly. You see, there's nothing wrong thinking the way we're going to solve problem is, doling out rice and bring it in. There's something indecent about it. I get the sense. But it is not the place of government to be doling out. We're not in war. We're not in earthquake or something like that. The government should be thinking of solutions that will make rice produced, not give it out. So you give somebody a bag of rice, what happens to their life? They just eat that, and what do? Then have you solved any problem? I don't agree with that. That's a bad problem. The inflation we have, I don't know what we're going to do about it, because the kind of complex situation that we have, because it's not like we have money and we're buying many things, that's why the prices are going up. Inflation is a demand side inflation. It's a supply side inflation. The reason why we have inflation is because we don't have enough good. We have scarcity of it. So when President Additional comes out to tell us he's disheartened of, I don't know what it was, they were trying to import food, I think he's wrong. And he's wrong because he loses the whole picture of what is going on. Where we are now, we need to get more food in the market and more on the table. So that we can survive till we can then grow our own, as you would like us to do. And two, that way we can reduce inflation as well. That's the way to go about it. Okay,
Professor Aworawo, well, one of the things that the president of Nigeria is promising, or has promised Labour, is that SANU and NASU, that their salary areas will be paid. So that should make you, as head of department, very happy that your staff will get money. And I guess that the bags of rice are coming to Lagos. Some will also be given to the University of Lagos. But that's not the only issue on the table. There are several other issues, about 5 or 6 of them.
Yes, Nigerians are now used to palliative. That's the language they use. But the beggarly, Yeah. Well, I'm happy that NASU and SANU will get paid. We don't know. They are saying the 4 months. Some are saying 2 months out of the 4, because ASU was paid 4 out of 8. So if it is 4 months, there will be hope rising for ASU that the other 4 too will be paid anyway. So it's good news that those ones who get paid will have stability in the system, because when they're down to, sometimes they are nasty, they go cut power, cut water, and then just make their relevance felt. So now that there is some understanding with government, it makes all of us happy. We are in the same environment. If it is good for my brother I'm also happy that it's also good for me. I will have my peace as well. So that's nice. The palliative thing, yeah, I don't like it. But in the short run, yes. That's also where President Additional, his president they call them, of African Development Bank, I also got it wrong. We have the short term, medium term, and long term. In the short term is good, but it should not be for medium term and long term. For medium term and long term is for us to produce food that we eat. I will argue that we have even gone, backwards in our food production. Yeah. Under President Jonathan, this thing was moving, with rapidity. And when Buhari came, he tried to sustain it. We don't seem to have seized that initiative and continue it. And just like Professor Kila said, if we started last year, by now we should have, harvest should begin to come. But it's not too late. We should start something decisive now, not just they should bring import food, and when they bring the food, the allocation to states. We also all know how these things go. There is one, Mrs. Ali McCall, people are shouting her name.
For good reason.
Palliatives of COVID. Yeah. And then converted to birthday. So we hope that will not, and we also know the last customs right that was distributed. Some people even died trying to get rice. These are the unfortunate aspects
people
of
may
it.
follow the Ali Macaulay example because she did it and she got rewarded.
So one way to get promoted,
I was saying in one forum
to make
that
use of palliative.
Yes, I was saying in one forum that I'm not sure that the president remembered that. If he did, he would probably not appoint her, and it's not too late to change her. And if he ends up not changing her, if she has sense, she should be wise. She should live above all those. I mean, in that time of COVID, that people were dying of. Why? What is birthday? To convert what will save lives to birthday gift. Anyway, we hope that if they don't remove her, she will have learned her lessons and then live uprightly, live ethically. Live
but why
morally.
should she though?
Why
should she? When she did it, she
got what is incentive? People see things from different perspectives. That is my advice to her anyway. I'm not saying, I've already said that if I wish the president will remove her. I know the president didn't. The way this thing go, they bring CVs. The president will look at them, this one was one that happened in the election and signed. So he has withdrawn some, so he still has a chance to withdraw her. Yeah. But if he doesn't, my advice to her is that she should leave. She should not think that, this is a reward for what I did before. And so nothing will happen, as some would think. Anyway.
That's I haven't been rewarded, Prof. You are saying she should go and sin no more.
That is it. Yeah. That's my advice for her. No more, yeah. We hope she listens. But unfortunately, people who have this kind of this thing, they hardly change. That is the unfortunate thing. They hardly change. That's why I'm emphasizing. I'm advising her, if they don't remove her, please leave above board from this point onwards. Anyway, now I want to shift to the economy broadly and begin with Dangote Refinery. It is very clear now that our position before now that the greatest problem of Nigeria and Nigerians is clear. See the way that CEO of that body,
Farouk Ahmed,
yes, spoke. You see that he wasn't speaking a few things not right, let us correct it. She spoke like she is opposed to the refinery. And that is unfortunate. That we have Nigerians who want imports, who want us to be importing petroleum products. And she mentioned that Davido is trying to create a monopoly. And that, no, there must be room for import. Why does he not speak of room for Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery to work? So that the monopoly, if there's anything like that by Dangote, these other ones will break it. And then the next comment is import. He didn't talk about the other refineries to break the monopoly. And like Dangote has fired back, he said, when Lafarge was the only company in Nigeria producing cement, we didn't hear many people talk about monopoly. And now an indigenous company that we have been hoping for that will produce and then help to solve many of the problems we have. Forex and all that. We have agents of government, individuals in important places of government clearly opposing it. It is unfortunate. We can deal with the problem if Dangote wants to increase, charge too much and all that. Government is too powerful for one man or one company to take advantage of. Yeah. Government can always, come in and take decisions. But if you look at the trend of, for instance, if the products, if the quality is not as high, is it on social media you say it? Won't you write, if the company doesn't have license, won't you write, okay, now that you are 45% complete, you are now producing, come let us sort out license issue. Why should it be social media? that we'll be talking about quality of product, registration of an important company as important as Dangote. Have you ever visited the place? You have, if you go to that place, you have to praise Dangote. If somebody told me, come and bring $100 million, as he said he paid for the place, and then in a few years you produce, I will run away. It's so matchy grand that the man transfer. Yes.
$100 million.
No, that's what the Dangote says he paid for the place.
Okay.
Yes, he spoke yesterday.
No, just clarify.
Yes, where will I find it? Anyway, that if I had that kind of money and somebody say, okay, this is the land, go and see how you can produce.
But you see, bro,
I would think twice.
That's why you Dangote.
I would think that. Oh,
and you are not.
Yes. No, it's not that I can't do it, but I will be hesitant. I will go and reflect deeply before I go.
What are you doing?
It is if you go there. No. You should praise the man. We can deal with, if he wants to now overcharge, we can deal with that. But to say that we have Nigerians who are bent on, frustrating all of this effort, and we're talking about import. What got me angry was the comment about import. If you say, okay, Port Harcourt will soon be producing, then we'll be talking. But the comment is always about import. Those who sell. These people sell in between. They call themselves Petra or something. Yeah. Those were more honest. That we are happy that Dangote has come on stream. But he may take food away from us. We want him to take this thing to depot. So from depot, we can also we can feed our family. Those who are more honest. We can look at the logistics and all that, and how those who otherwise were affected negatively by Dangote's production be taken care of. But to say that we should not rely on import, be looking for forex, so where we no, it's not right. I hope they would see reason to be nationalistic and support these efforts to end this propensity for, let us import and then make quick and easy money from it. That has to end. As to the inflation, there is not, I don't think there's anything anybody can do right now. One, Naira has to start. First, I spoke about this last week. We need to earn more Naira, more dollar, dollar. We need to export more, earn more dollar. Those 1.3, 1.4 million barrels per day that we're exporting will not take us anywhere. We need to go to Nigeria and ensure that that's the low-hanging fruit. Other things that can fetch us, forex, will take time. The one we already have there, why will we in 2015 we're exporting 2.2, 2.3 million barrels per day, and in 2023 we're exporting 1.4, 1.3, 1.4? They need to be, the president needs to declare state of emergency on oil export, yes. Oil theft in that place. When we earn more this thing, then Naira will stabilize. Then production also, if it expands, that will help us now to be more self-sufficient. That is the only way to reduce inflation. As long as you are importing virtually everything you need, the common sense economics, inflation will be high. Now go to Rwanda. Because that place is I feel for Rwandans. Kagame has done well. There's no doubt about that. Social services, health, education, no problem. No doubt about that. But this etatism is a problem. I said on one forum, I have a friend who used to say, Papa Igbenedion. That's the chief, Sama of Benin. Several times. He will always say, success without successor is not success. And that is my fear for Rwanda. Recall that in 1994, the immediate cause of that genocide was the shooting of the plane carrying Aberimana, who was Hutu, who became president after a long time of Tutsi domination. Now, since 1994, we have had two presidents. Pastor Bizimungu. He was there from 1994 to 2000. He's Tutsi. Kagame is Tutsi. When Kagame leaves, what happens to Rwanda? It's a huge issue. That's my concern. All of these things he has done can disappear in a week if there is crisis post-Kagame. So Kagame must begin to now think of how do we build a system where both Hutu and Tutsi will be able to have a part in the governing process in a stable manner such that, stable and inclusive manner, such that it won't create the kind of problem that existed in 1994.
So, was to solve the problem of identity.
So it is not recognized.
There is no Hutu, there is no Tutsi, we are all Rwandans.
I also remind you that on May the 24th, 1966, our own Iransi made a decree 34, where he abolished the regions, and you can't force people to be what they are not.
Identity, yes.
You can't force it. But if you put a level playing ground, there is justice, there is freedom. Those are the things. Americans, Japanese are there, Nigerians, everybody is there. But they know where they came from. But because there's a level playing field, there's justice, there's freedom, people want to identify with the American system. That is the kind of thing that works. So boxing people into, I've been there, and I met several people. I said, "Oh, you are Tutsi." No, I'm not Tutsi. I'm not, even from the airport. I'm not Tutsi. I'm just Rwandan. But deep down, when you now discuss with them or more personal, you know that the Tutsi identity is there. So rather than say, they want to, obliterate ethnic identity, what they should do is to ensure that there is inclusive structure in governance that will include both Tutsi and Hutu. If after Kagame, the Hutu say, we want this our turn, what will happen? Would they say they don't have a right? And they're even more than Tutsi. So these things are superficial as far as I'm concerned. The fundamentals, and we do this in conflict resolution, Joan Gantung, Botin, and us. Our studies reveal that what you need is an inclusive structure, and a structure that will include everybody. They may say even, you spend 5 years, but everybody must be included. Once there is exclusion, you are creating the condition for crisis moving forward. And that is what Kagame must use these 5 years to solve, such that his legacy will not be destroyed in 1 week after he leaves.
Okay, Prof, are you planning to go to the UAE shortly?
UAE? Yeah, the UAE, yes. The UAE, I'm happy that, anything that promotes cordial relations, provides the condition for, mutual interdependence and all that, we always support it. The more people are separated, the more countries are separated, the more they are not together, the more the tendency for conflict and, things that will not be beneficial. So it's good. But the other side to it, Professor Kila partly also made reference to it. Because our domestic environment is as it is, we are disadvantaged on the global scale. A couple of years ago, I went to South Africa. I went to a high commission, and I was discussing with Deputy High Commissioner. And, the South Africans were saying, the South African airline wanted to expand its routes. Under Basa agreement, we also needed to expand. At that time, we didn't even have. They were flying to Lagos. They were flying to Abuja. They now wanted to start flying to Lagos. But there was a conundrum. And the conundrum was, how do we take advantage of the agreement? Because if you have 3, I should have 3. If you have 4, I have 4. But we don't have capacity. Nigeria Airways doesn't exist, and we don't have, another carrier. So, Professor Kila was right to say...
We have airpiece.
Yeah, airpiece. One.
Just one.
Another one to balance.
There are some rules. There are some countries that the rules are vast, and airpiece cannot meet up. And when they want to expand, we cannot expand correspondingly. And because also we are where we are, sometimes they will say they will design an airport that's too far away that will discourage people and give advantage to the other country. That is the problem we have. Now, we are talking about, Basa. Our speaker said, the Basa agreement and all that. Fine, it's true. If we want to take advantage of it, do we have the capacity? So this internal contradiction of lack of capacity is a huge problem, which we have to solve to be able to match the other countries on the international scale.
Benefit from what interrelationship offers.
Exactly. Yeah. And one final thing, tourism and all that, yes, fine, fantastic. We have tourists. One thing that our guests didn't talk about, Paul High, is security. He talked about,
it was Dr. Bati that was listening on
making the zoos fine, make this one fine, make that one fine. Even here, even you and I, we had an external examiner that came to examine one of my students on Friday. By the time it was 5, 6, where he was in Oshogbo, he was going to Ibadan. He just couldn't come again. He said, I have to wait till tomorrow. We Nigerians know. And people outside even fear more. I met an American in Lekki Phase 1, and we spoke, and as we were walking in a friend's house, then we walked out together. He said he was surprised that one could move freely like this in Nigeria. That he thought as soon as he arrived at the airport, they will kidnap him and take him away to kill him. So we here, we appreciate the challenges. Those outside even fear more because these things have been escalated, they have been sensationalized, and they have been exaggerated. So those are the things we have to See, insecurity has to be addressed. If it's not addressed, forget about,
Okay,
tourism.
both of you have overlooked one part of the conversation before you joined me, which is the fact that members of the House of Reps, they are appealing to Nigerians not to protest. The protest that is scheduled for the first week of August, and for which the presidency has expressed concern that this is politically motivated and some key political figures are behind it. So House of Reps members are saying, well, they will donate part of their salary, 600,000 naira, they told us, that they will donate, I think it's 40% or 50% of it, to address the cost of living crisis and to support the federal government of Nigeria.
We don't know how much they earn.
Shouldn't they be praised for?
Well, would we even know how much they earn?
Because they say 600,000.
That's how much they earn. So
that's what they
want to
disclose.
Give half of 600,000.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting. You see, we are laughing because it looks superficial. Ordinarily, when someone says he wants to donate part of his salary, it's something that should be commended. He's making sacrifices for the symbolism, yes. But we have a long list of allowances. It's not the salary that is actually the issue. A long list that people have read out. Sometimes, once in a while, you see someone will come out, like Akin wrote to me, the spokesperson for the, by the way, was my former student, come out and say, oh, no, I never earned that. But some other ones among them will say, that's how much we earn. No. So if they are donating half of 600,000, what does it? If those allowances mentioned, which they have not actually come to vehemently deny is true, but for what it symbolizes, okay, we want to make sacrifice. It was not the amount, but the word sacrifice. Well, we can commend them, for their action.
Professor Kila, do you commend them for their patriotism?
No, I appreciate the symbol, this idea of let us sacrifice. I think the key word is sacrifice. But it brings to mind something deeper than this. There's something wrong with our system if we cannot be sure precisely how much anybody that takes money from Nigeria earns. And I blame everybody, starting from the media, that cannot prognose very well, starting from all the offices that are in charge of investigating it. We should be very clear about it, that this is the total amount of money, allowances, any other kind of perks, including how much they pay, including how much energy they use for air conditioning in their offices. Given that it belongs to the Commonwealth, I think we have a right and duty to know precisely the amount. And talking of right and duty, I think that's important. Allow me to step back to the thing of Dangote. I think this Dangote travail, or an essay that I'm writing, that is what I call it, it is something that should serve all of us as a lesson not to speak only when we're in trouble. And the favor Dangote can do us now, going through this kind of situation, is we should have a broader conversation about the role of regulators in our life. There's a tendency in this country where people who are regulators or government workers, they just think they own you. They just think, they don't appreciate that their duty is not to stop businesses. But we need businesses because they create job and wealth. So regulators are supposed to correct them, guide them. This idea where something happened, I think of aviation, for example, and other places where somebody just wakes up and suspends somebody's license. We shouldn't be doing that. The countries where the economy prosper, part of the duty of regulator is not to stifle the operators, but to correct them and to guide them and to work with them. Finding somebody, threatening them, and suspending them, those are nuclear buttons that you shouldn't press very easily. The first attempt, and I think this Dangote issue is what we need to think about. The Farouk man talking about him, what has he invested? What has he created in his life? What has he done? We need to say these things very clearly, that you go to somebody who has created something and you think because you are nominated or elected to a role, you have the right to just talk down on something. It is wrong. If there are flaws, as Professor Aworawo also said, companies should correct them, but in the meantime, our interest should be more petrol, more fuel.
Okay, let's go to the United States. Former President Donald Trump has accepted the Republican Party's nomination for president for the third time in a row on Thursday, closing out the Republican National Convention with his first speech since it was shot in a failed assassination attempt just days earlier. speaking for more than an hour and a half in what was the longest convention address in modern history. Trump struck an uncharacteristically somber tone to recount the fatal shooting at his rally in Pennsylvania before he transitioned into the kind of meandering address that is his staple. With a bandage covering the wound where a sniper's bullet tore through his ear, Trump told Republican delegates in Milwaukee and a primetime television audience about his experience during the shooting, which left one rally attendee dead and 2 others wounded. Well, President Trump now is a candidate of the Republican Party. On the other side, there's pressure on President Biden to step down. He's still insisting that he's not going to step down. Trump keeps telling the people, fight, 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 and that he's a hero of a democracy. So looks like an interesting battle ahead in the presidential election in the United States on November 5 this year. Well, should President Biden step down with Nancy Pelosi, President Obama, 31 Democratic lawmakers saying that their own destiny is also at stake, and Biden, the symbolism, projecting himself as the symbol of resilience, defiance. After all, a bullet grazed his ear, and many Republicans are going about with bandaged ears in the country. Professor Aworawo, let me start with you.
I spoke about this last week, and I said, that frenzy will likely catch on and will be dominant until the election. And just as we predicted, that's what is happening now. But, to me, really, it's a symbol of low level of intelligence. These are not things that, establish how well a president will perform. I was saying last week that when people, supermen, tell me how many supermen across history that were, that ended up transforming their countries positively. They always end up as either as dictators, authoritarians, and all that. But somebody who is courageous, the middle position between cowardice and rashness, and the people are intelligent, people are committed, who know what to do, and who are committed to the common good. Lee Kuan Yew, Mandela, you can name it. By their actions, they transform their society. Those are the kind of, this symbolism. We said it last week that it will catch on, there will be a frenzy, and the frenzy is on. Trump has accepted. Trump has to leave the scene for the Republican Party to find a new direction. For as long as Trump is still there in the mix, the Republican Party is tied to that, and there is nothing anybody can do. You criticize him, you fall by the wayside. There is not one person who stood against Trump since his emergence a couple of years ago who survived. So you rise up against him, you fall by the wayside. So until he leaves the scene, Republican Party is the same as Trump and his ideas. Now for the Democrats, we also said it last week, the longer the delay goes on, the more difficult it becomes for the Democrats to get a replacement for Biden. But a couple of days ago, Biden said that he was surprised and disappointed that Obama seemed not to be speaking for him and supporting him. And I'm surprised that he's surprised. Because even for the first time, Obama made a couple of comments and said, Joe, you don't need this. So I'm surprised he's surprised, because even from the beginning, Obama has never really, it was after he emerged that, it was not a fait accompli. The Obama had to, start supporting him. Of course, the other alternative was seen as too bad, to contemplate. It doesn't seem that Biden is going to go down. In fact, and again, the other side to it is that it seems that Trump and his people are actually afraid of Biden, because they are encouraging a change. They are already saying, you see some comments from them that, Biden has stepped down, Kamala Harris, she will nominate his vice, so we know where we are going. So it seems that they're actually afraid of Biden. And, records, polls have shown that, Biden will do well, they will do neck to neck.
He's 1 point ahead.
Neck to neck. Well, they don't know who replaces him. If it's Kamala Harris, he may not do as well. But if it's someone else, he may do a lot better. So the Republicans want to exploit that. And of course, that will be short. It will not be a big name, like either Trump or Biden or Obama or whatever. So these are the issues. But we said it last week that after that debate, Biden should just have stepped down. Democrats will look for a candidate. He will have a longer time to now, campaign and all. But we are where we are.
Well, the bullets didn't stop President Trump. Well, verbal mistakes should not, some people say, stop President Biden. So because of this, the Democrats are divided right down the middle. Professor Kila.
Well, I think, yes, the bullet didn't stop him. Some people say shame. But I guess it's part of life. But,
no, it's good. It's good. I mean, why should somebody be killed for what now?
No.
Let Americans decide.
Well, obviously not.
Not a bullet.
But then, it's a bad thing to want to choose this thing. But between the firefighter and Trump himself, that the bullet caught on. I'm sure some people's choices will not be so difficult. The two other things that we said on a serious note, that's a bad joke. I hope I won't offend many people about that. It's just a joke. I don't wish him dead. I just want him out of the race. The two things need to be said. I'd like to add on a serious note. Number one is that when we talk about Trump is in the Republican Party, we keep leaving out the people supporting Trump. There are millions of people. I think at some point, there's something typical of when we analyze democratic situation. We tend not to blame the people. It's only the government we blame. It's only the leadership. But in this case, these people should also be analyzed to see what is it that is gluing them to Trump. I think Joe Biden should step down. And I say this in a very painful way because I should always repeat everywhere possible. I think Joe Biden was a fantastic president in terms of a lot of things, in terms of a lot of his achievement. An achievement that, for some reason, are not in people's mind and people's face. People don't count it easily, but they are there. Anybody who's interested can easily find Joe Biden's achievement. But that was yesterday. Given where we are today, I think the right for him is to withdraw from this race and continue campaigning because the campaign needs somebody with vigor, not excessive testosterone like the Trump-Vance ticket, but something that can balance and something mature with vigor and more reasonable. And I think, contrary to what people say, a new candidate in the Democratic side can generate interest because there's a lot of people who are not following because they seem both too old. They've left out people. I think a new candidate can generate new interest and can lead to victory for the Democrats.
Okay, let's close the program with
something. Sorry. Biden called Trump and spoke so well about his concern, his prayers for him and all that. Yeah. And Trump seemed surprised. In fact, said he was very surprised. Yeah. And his expression seemed to suggest that if he were the one,
he wouldn't have done it.
A different thing.
Yes.
That is that humanity that we emphasize.
Yes.
And that must define politics so that we can have stability.
Well, let's take one more topic and we'll close it for today. Members of the All Progressives Congress and People's Democratic Party, PDP, are currently locked in a war of words over the escalating tension in the build-up to the September 21 governorship election in Edo State. Suspected thugs last week went on rampage along Airport Road in Benin City, the state capital, shooting sporadically, all in a bid to prevent the newly reinstated Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu from getting to Government House on Dennis Osadebe Avenue. A police orderly attached to the APC governorship candidate, Senator Monday Okpebolo, who was riding in the Deputy Governor's convoy, was shot dead during the attack, with 3 others sustaining various degrees of injury. Well, since then, the former Deputy Governor, reinstated Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu, has now declared for the All Progressives Congress. But they seem to have a very tense situation in Edo State. Very quickly, Professor Aworawo.
Well, this is what we've condemned, spoken against. Politics of bitterness, politics characterized by violence, politics defined by narrow interest, and not minding whether people are killed in the process or not. I think those people, they said, also actually had talks, and that is very disappointing. What are you looking for? With Deputy Governor for all these years, it's true you are free to move from one party to the other, but this violence, this desperation is condemnable. And we hope that people will be brought to brought to account when these things happen. If somebody was carrying thugs and his thugs unleashed terror, on people, Should the person just be left to, to go like that? The rule of law must begin to, take its course. That is the only way, to stem the tide of this kind of barbaric behavior by, political leaders.
Well, I think I agree. The rule of law should take its place. But I also think that if the law should take its place well, we should separate the politics and violence in our talk, but also in the act. The people who do this kind of thing should not be treated as political participants at all. They should just be treated as criminals because you went to shoot, you went to cause violence. And I think once we're able to sort of separate them from any years of political coverage, it will make it easier for us to see what is criminal as criminal. I think we need to grow up along that line. But politicians really, we need to say this. In this case, this is not a general malice. The problem we have is that we have people who are practicing politics in this country who are too comfortable with violence. And we need to start looking at it that way. They have there's some criminal bones inside them. They're too comfortable with evil. And we need to purge them of it.
And they kill people and nothing happens.
And nothing happens. And that's bad.
On that note, thank you very much, Professor Kila. Thank you very much, Professor David Aworawo.